This is now the top on Broadcom. Today we analyze Broadcom. However, by actually looking at a higher time frame, we are perfectly able to determine exactly where Broadcom will head next in the near future. Therefore, looking here at the monthly chart of Broadcom, before we start with some simple technical analysis, we first always have to determine the underlying trend. On Broadcom, this is literally the easiest thing possible. Now, starting back in 2009, when Broadcom was listed on the Nasdaq, you can see that ever since, Broadcom has been rallying approximately 20,000%. During this entire move towards the upside, we literally only saw minor corrections, with the last correction starting back in the end of 2024, and from top to bottom, Broadcom approximately corrected minus 45%. However, over the course of the past couple of months, we saw an even stronger rally of approximately 150% towards the upside. And just the fact alone that Broadcom is now once again creating new all-time highs seems to be a bullish sign. However, if we now start with some simple technical analysis, we can first of all see, starting back in 2013, for quite a long period of time, Broadcom has been respecting this horizontal resistance exactly at this psychological $4 level. Then in mid-2013, we saw the so-called resistance breakout on Broadcom, which was then followed by a parabolic rally. We actually, in 2015, so exactly a decade ago, then saw the establishment of a significant rising channel formation, where on the one side we had this lower green support trend line, on the other side we had this upper red resistance trend line. You can see for quite some time Broadcom has been respecting this rising channel formation, but then just 2 years ago in 2023, Broadcom actually created the parabolic breakout. Broadcom managed to actually exit this rising channel formation towards the upside, has been rallying approximately 350% ever since, and starting back in the end of 2022, has once again been establishing an even steeper rising channel formation. There you can see we have the substantial lower green support trend line, and on the other side, once again, this upper red resistance trend line. And over the course of the past couple of years, Broadcom has been perfectly respecting this channel. I mean, just a couple of months ago, in mid-2025, Broadcom was retesting a substantial horizontal support as well as this green lower support trend line, therefore actually retesting a so-called confluence of support, where we do have two independent support levels coming in exactly at this psychological $160 level. That was also the reason for why back then I decided to publish a bunch of analysis on Broadcom explaining all the reasons for which I do expect this substantial move higher. By the way, I will link all of this previous analysis next to this breakdown. And now Broadcom is once again creating new all-time highs. However, this is where things get now extremely interesting, and this is also the reason for why I think we at least saw a short-term top on Broadcom. You can see that as we're speaking, Broadcom is once again retesting this upper red resistance trend line. Now, this fact alone does not lead to a correction, but you can see that over the course of the past couple of months, starting back in April of 2025, Broadcom has been rallying substantially and has only been creating green candles, consecutive green candles, without any correction, also not on the smaller time frame. Therefore, I think that this is actually the bull run all-time high, and we will now see at least a short-term correction on Broadcom, if not a retest of the previous all-time high, which is approximately at this $240 level, before Broadcom will eventually then continue with the underlying very strong uptrend. If you enjoyed today's analysis of Broadcom and you found it helpful, I really much appreciate if you smash the thumbs up below this video. Obviously, the moment Broadcom actually starts to reverse, also on the smaller time frame, I will immediately update this analysis. So make sure you check back every once in a while. I will see you tomorrow with a fresh breakdown. And in the end, just make sure that you don't get caught up in any of this recent short-term volatility and you manage to keep your long-term vision.